you have stepped into in this journey that you have, that you had to get to a place where you were going to hold yourself accountable for who you wanted to be and who you wanted to be to others. And so you got to that point, and, some valiant efforts, actually, which ultimately then veered off, right? And
many times tried.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing about it. My son-in-law talks about being an expert at failure. He's a scientist, and he's in a field where you failed 19 times and succeed on the 20th. And we always talk to young people in particular, and even older adults. It's like, don't be afraid of failure, but we never actually embrace what that looks like and what that means in terms of what failing can be, and then what you can learn from that failure, and then be able to move on from it. It's like, well, don't be afraid of failure, but we need you to get this project done. That type of thing. With every time you had that good intent, and it was very good intent, very strong intent, there was evidently something that just wasn't clicked in the right place, and you have to get to that point where it's got to be clicked into the right place, and people will give up and succumb to, I can't do it, versus what you did, which was at a certain point, you clicked in the right place, and now here you are 3 years later.
Yeah, it's a lot of things, and a lot of shedding. And I'll tell everybody, just so they're like, anybody that wants to take any lessons from it, it's a lot of shedding, and that's the unfortunate part, is shedding mentality, shedding mindset, and most importantly, it was sometimes shedding people. And that's not anything about anybody or anybody blamed or anything like that. And I want to always say, this is my decisions are my decisions. And and I don't have anything on anybody else. But as I learned a lot more through therapy, and very intensive therapy, I actually never told you this. I'll tell you this real quick, and then we'll jump into your story. I ended up doing an immersion therapy, which was, I went through 5 therapists, and on the 5th one, I finally got one that was also a recovering alcoholic. And then that's what happened. Was then the safe stop sounded right. It actually clicked in, and we opened up and unlocked some things. And he literally had me go to a bar, and if I had a craving, I went to a bar, sat at the bar, ordered a beer, and stared at the beer, and just told myself all the negative things that affected me in my life. And I did it a couple times. I would at different days and stuff like that. It's to the point now. I'm not gonna. Your son-in-law is a better scientist than me, but I had when I was making a cocktail with some clients, I grabbed a little dropper, and I was like, I'm just going to do 1 dropper to make sure the recipe's done. It tasted like rubbing alcohol. And he told me a year ago, he's like, you're going to psychologically convince yourself that it's going to go into your sensory and it's going to match that taste. And it sure as hell it did. And that's one of those things where I don't use it as a crutch, you know what I mean, or anything like that. But it was one of those things where, even though I wasn't craving at that moment, and it wasn't my mentality at that moment, it was just for actual business, it tasted like rubbing. And everybody else is around drinking full glasses like, this is incredible. I'm like, God damn, I was like, I'm horrible at this.